Let's get back to what happened in that deposition room, because there is a little leak here. This is starting to get really, really funny, because now the latest few things that Blake Lively's attorneys have done has given more evidence to Justin Baldoni.
She would be notified in advance who would be present. So why is this a surprise? Literally, your own article mentions that it's not a surprise, but of course, People Magazine got a simp for Blake Lively. But good for him for showing up. They're again lying to the judge. They also said that he says she's a narcissist who cannot accept how she's behaved. I mean, let's be honest, both of these quotes are true.
And showing receipts that everything that she was claiming was a lie, that was the real smear campaign.
Blake Lively is having meltdowns after the judge exposed her for lying during her sworn testimony. That's ultimate arrogance. She's now being called the Queen of Deception. She believed she could sway the court with fabricated tales, but this time Justin Baldoni came prepared with solid proof to support his accusations.
Blake Lively has officially had her deposition, and she had to do it in front of Justin Baldoni.
This was the major turning point everyone had been anticipating, and to be real, it arrived much faster than anyone thought. For months there were whispers that Lively would come up with every possible excuse to push this moment back, because let's face it, nobody wants to deal with the fallout when they're tangled in legal trouble. But now she's here, frozen like a deer in headlights, sitting across from Baldoni under oath with all her hidden secrets, ready to spill out.
It's the chance for Justin's side to question her under oath, to really get the facts from her. And she's got to sit there and answer everything. She can't just ignore it or say no. She's got to answer questions, and she's got to tell the story. And will that story match up to her testimony later in court?
And it was a total surprise when she actually appeared. Everyone expected her to keep avoiding the situation, but she showed up. Talk about an unexpected twist. This wasn't just another Hollywood scandal. This was a real legal face-off happening right in front of the world. The pressure was massive, not only for the case, but for her public image too, because let's be honest, if she blew this, it wouldn't just be the attorney she needed to fear. It would be the damage to her reputation, and maybe even her entire career. And let's not forget, this moment could decide whether the case ever reaches a courtroom, because if she fumbled here, Baldoni's team might have gotten everything they needed to completely take her down.
Deposition day. There's an article in the Daily Mail explaining that Blake Lively brought not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, not 7, but 8 lawyers with her to the deposition on Thursday.
So let's break down what actually happened. A deposition is pretty straightforward. When you really think about it, it's basically an opportunity for one side's lawyer to seriously question the other person under oath. And I mean really put the pressure on. There's no hiding behind slick legal moves here, unlike in a courtroom where the judge controls what gets allowed and what doesn't. A deposition is raw and direct. Nobody is there to soften the blow. It's just you, your statements, and the fallout from whatever you say.
Blake Lively has finally sat down for her deposition, and I'll be honest, it surprised me, because I didn't think she was gonna. I thought she'd continue to find more excuses. The fact that she's now sat for a deposition makes me think a settlement is now even further away from a possibility.
Now this is where things get complicated for Lively. The whole point of a deposition is to uncover the real story, and once that truth is out, there's no way to undo it. If she lies or avoids giving honest answers, well, that just weakens her entire defense. It's a risky move, especially when she's facing someone like Baldoni who's been on her trail for a while. It's almost like a real-life showdown of who's faking, but this time the consequences aren't just for show. It's her profession, her public image, and maybe even her personal freedom on the line.
The fact that Justin stepped up and showed up, which he's absolutely obligated to do and should do, because they're asking questions of her, and the only other person there who can really dispute or challenge is him.
This isn't just another flashy tabloid rumor. Oh no, this is the real situation. The conflict between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni has been going on for what seems like ages, and now it has reached this point, the moment where the facts are expected to surface. It all began with questionable rumors and accusations being thrown around, with both sides blaming each other. Media games, reputation attacks. It's like a daytime drama, only with legal twists and way less entertainment. This feud started years ago, and since then it's been one headline-grabbing controversy after another. This deposition was meant to be the turning point, the moment when someone finally had the chance to share their truth.
Good for him for showing up. It's much harder to lie to somebody to their face. It is. And so he had to sit there, calmly, collected, and just take it. Again, he's been taking it for a long time.
But this wasn't just about sharing her version of events. No, this was meant to be Blake's big opportunity to defend herself, to finally clear her reputation. But what happened? Instead, she got tangled in a web of contradictions. Instead of correcting the narrative, she had to sit across from Baldoni, the man who's been a constant obstacle for her for years. Now the real question isn't whether she's actually guilty, it's whether she could keep her composure when it counted, and the truth is she couldn't.
Answer as little as possible, but answer. And so I'm sure she prepped, but no prep can handle the Friedman finger point and to try to really unnerve her, which I'm sure there were moments that he tried to. Now, whether she took the bait, I don't know.
First off, did you notice the part about Blake's dramatic arrival? The woman showed up to her deposition not with 1 or 2, but 8 lawyers. Yes, 8, like is she facing a court case or getting ready for a military operation? And she didn't come alone. Her sister, her best friend Robin, and her husband Ryan Reynolds all came along for support. But here's the twist, none of them actually went into the room with her, so she arrives with this whole crew, but when the moment of truth hits, it's just her team of lawyers. Justin Baldoni and Jamie Heath. Blake had to face her biggest rival head-on, and honestly it's hard to imagine how anxious she must have felt. A little panic probably creeping in, right, Blake?
He got special treatment, surprise, from Judge Lyman, so she could choose where she wanted to do this. Of course, because she's so famous, so she can do whatever she wants. So she chose to have the deposition at her attorney's offices, so everyone had to come there.
And it gets even juicier. Let's talk about her outfit. Yeah, that's how you can tell Blake was trying to project some confidence. She showed up in black jeans, a black waistcoat, and a pale blue fluffy cardigan, no floral prints. Can you imagine? It was like she was trying to control the vibe, but honestly it felt more like she was hoping nobody would see her sweating through that cardigan. And guess where all of this happened? At her lawyer's office. Of course, when you're a celebrity, you get to bend the rules. She got to have her deposition on her home turf, surrounded by comfort and luxury. She had everything tailored to her preference. But here's where it really starts to unravel. Leaks from inside the room are surfacing fast, and they're not looking good for Blake. And just when you thought the drama might be dying down, think again. Now her legal team is trying to get the judge to treat Brian Friedman, one of Baldoni's lawyers, like a publicist instead of a real attorney. They're claiming that because he's spoken to the media before, attorney-client privilege shouldn't protect his conversations, so now they're pushing to examine his messages with journalists and content creators.
Lively's team is subpoenaing Brian Friedman, Justin Baldoni's attorney, and asking to see all his correspondence and emails and phone calls in and out of the office. It's bananas, you guys.
Oh, and just so you know, this whole attempt to dig up dirt was meant to land them some explosive info, but plot twist, it didn't work. They ended up with nothing, and now they're doubling down, sending out even more subpoenas. Total desperation move, classic really. But hey, maybe if they keep searching they'll eventually stumble on something to use against Baldoni, though honestly I wouldn't count on it.
Want to start fishing in Brian Friedman's office to see his correspondence with him and content creators or journalists.
And speaking of subpoenas, remember how Blake's legal team managed to obtain a list of influencers and reporters? Well, there's a twist. At first, they made it seem like they had an extensive list of individuals involved in this so-called defamation plot, but in truth, it was only a small group of well-known figures: Andy Signore, Perez Hilton, and Candace Owens. Now, they're trying to broaden their reach, digging into more people's affairs in hopes of uncovering something useful. But this tactic isn't earning them any public favor. In fact, it's making them seem desperate and disorganized. If this is the strategy her team is banking on, then Blake might be in even deeper trouble than anyone realized.
My Google or my YouTube channel was recently subpoenaed by Blake Lively's legal team, and they were after all my private information, my bank account details, my credit card, my home address, my phone number, my IP addresses, everything.
And let's not forget the subpoena mess involving Rob Sullivan, the editor of It Ends With Us. Apparently Blake's legal team struggled to track him down, and when they finally did, things didn't go smoothly. So what was their next move? They basically threw a fit and submitted a stack of text messages to back up their claims. But hey, race the kicker, those very messages ended up exposing Blake Lively as a total micromanager. Yep, they handed over the texts voluntarily, and in doing so gave Baldoni team everything they needed. The messages clearly show Blake demanding final say over specific scenes in the film, even ones she wasn't in. She was trying to oversee everything, including scenes with the younger version of her character. If that's not a textbook case of a power trip, what is?
Blake Lively's team really wanted to subpoena the editor of It Ends With Us. His name is Rob Sullivan. And Rob has been really hard to get hold of. Then they're saying to the judge, you know, we tried to get hold of him and we saw they had the TV on and the lights on, but it didn't open the door for us.
The wildest part is these text messages were supposed to help Lively's case look stronger, but instead they totally exposed her for trying to take control, and when Baldoni team got a hold of them, it was like, thanks for handing us the proof. It's almost like Lively's own legal squad is sabotaging her. They gave up these messages that clearly show how overbearing Blake was during production, and now the public sees it too. Imagine trying to act like the victim while this kind of behavior is being dragged into the spotlight.
Lively's team voluntarily dropped these text messages and gave them to the judge. At this point now, I'm thinking, are they really on her side? Do they want her to lose this?
And then there's another big reveal. Lively legal team went after Google and X, which used to be Twitter, trying to get user info from 5 content creators who had spoken against her, but after a bunch of legal arguments they ended up pulling the subpoena back. Total fail. Not only did they come up empty-handed, but they also took a hit in the court of public opinion. Like, seriously, if you're going after the social accounts of your critics, maybe take a moment to ask if this is really worth it. And then there's the whole insurance mess. Justin Baldoni is now suing his insurance provider because they're refusing to cover his legal fees. Classic insurance move, right? They always try to duck out when the bills get big, but hey, race where it gets interesting. Baldoni has billionaire Steve Sawitz in his corner, ready to spend whatever it takes to win, and if there's one thing we've learned about this whole situation, it's that Baldoni has both the money and the legal muscle to fight this battle to the very end.
It has been said, though, that Steve Sarowitz once swore that he would spend $100 million to ruin Blake Lively. So it's great to know that Justin Baldoni is backed by a billionaire. And of course, for him too, he's dragged into this as well.
So the real question now is, how much longer can Blake keep up this act? With each legal move her reputation keeps slipping. The harder her team tries, the worse it gets. They're pulling in random editors and accidentally exposing how controlling she really is, and none of it is helping her side. Every time she tries to gain ground, it completely backfires. At this rate, it's clear she's stuck in a legal disaster that's not going to be easy to escape. Now if we shift focus to Justin Baldoni sitting right across from Lively, wasn't by chance, it was calculated. Justin came prepared, and this wasn't just about asking the right questions. He showed up to win, and in a situation like this you win by letting your rival trip up over their own decisions.
Basically, what Blake Lively is saying is that the real smear campaign is the one that Justin Baldoni started when he defended himself against her claims. So by defending him and showing receipts that everything that she was claiming was a lie.
This was mind games at their sharpest. Baldoni didn't have to lift a finger, just sat there staring at Lively, while his legal team did the real work. You can bet he was feeding them direction the whole time, making sure they caught every lie or misstep from Lively. That's top tier tactics right there, and it paid off. Lively walked into that deposition thinking she could coast through, toss out a few excuses, and leave clean, but instead she landed herself in serious trouble. Every word she said just made things worse. And how do we know that? Because she couldn't even stay consistent. She kept flipping her story, saying one thing then turning around and saying the opposite. She tried to pin a smear campaign on Baldoni, but the more she spoke, the less believable it all sounded.
This shouldn't leak. Like, this should come out as evidence later, because if it does, it is going to make Justin's team look bad. Like, they're out there trying to make this and get stuff out there. Now, Blake's team is also clearly leaking things. I don't know who else would have spread the word that Blake's facing down her nemesis, Justin Baldoni. You go to the People magazine, and their headline is Justin attends and surprise.
Even worse, her legal squad hasn't been doing her any favors. They've been firing off subpoenas like crazy, trying to pull info from anyone they can get. They went after a whopping 107 content creators. Yeah, you heard that right, 107 people supposedly involved in spreading falsehoods about her. That's an insane number of legal demands, and to be honest, it just reeks of desperation. She's clutching at anything, hoping that if she digs far enough, she'll uncover something that could turn things around, but honestly at this stage it's tough to imagine anything actually helping her.
It's very strange. We also learned that she's now gone after 107 creators.
The most brutal part is Lively's been tangled in a mess of inconsistencies. She tried to play the role of the victim, but each new detail just makes her look worse. Her courtroom tactics are only making her appear more at fault. If anything, she's strengthening Baldoni's argument, and her big moment to clear things up face to face with Baldoni completely backfired. Instead of cleaning up the damage, she just made the situation messier. It's like watching a disaster unfold in slow motion. You know it's going to crash, but you can't stop it now. All anyone can do is watch as Blake Lively falls apart in real time. She could have turned things around, but instead she got stuck in a spiral of lies, bad choices, and flat-out panic.
They have added Jed Wallace back into the lawsuit. Is her legal team just trying to get every dollar they can out of her? Just when you think the court of opinion couldn't be any less favorable towards her.
Let's break down the real problem here. The claims Blake Lively keeps tossing around about Baldoni and his legal team supposedly running some elaborate scheme to ruin her image. Seriously, Blake, is this what we're doing now? So in her version, Baldoni and his crew weren't just defending themselves, they were allegedly running some covert op to wreck her reputation with the help of influencers. And who does she think was leading this alleged smear squad? Oh, just minor names like Paris Hilton, Candace Owens, Andy Senior. Yeah, those same folks who make a living off of drama. According to court filings, Hilton supposedly made over 500 posts about the whole Lively Baldoni fallout. 500, that's not casual commentary, that's a full-on campaign to keep things boiling. Lively's side is grabbing at straws, roping in anyone remotely connected to controversy to make their argument sound believable, but honestly it just came off messy. This wasn't some genius legal move, it was pure panic and sloppy strategy, and in the end, the public saw right through it.
This idea that Wayfarer Friedman would employ Perez Hilton, of all people, to create an agreement with and risk losing their own license to practice law, as well as this whole case, it makes no sense.
They even targeted Liner Friedman's office, accusing them of being part of the smear effort. That was a gutsy move, but it completely backfired. Liner Friedman's team didn't stay quiet, they firmly denied any involvement, and their legal crew fired back hard. Blake's decision to subpoena the firm ended up looking like a major misstep. It was as if she thought she could strong-arm her way into getting what she wanted, but newsflash, the legal system doesn't bend just because you throw a tantrum.
And so Lively wanted to subpoena the Liner Friedman office, which is Friedman's office. She suspects that Friedman is part of Baldoni's supposed ongoing smear campaign against her, and that Friedman is using his deep Rolodex of influencer clients to circulate the campaign online.
And we can't ignore Lively's legal approach. It's making a lot of people raise questions. Some are thinking this might be a massive stretch, like going after public relations companies and news platforms. That's a serious gamble. You have to ask yourself, is this really a clever tactic, or is Lively's side just in way over their heads? Because up to this point, everything about it smells like panic. Each demand, each court play, it all shouts we're clutching at anything. It's not helping, and every second it just keeps damaging her image more and more.
We certainly did not pay content creators, Liner Friedman attorney Garofalo said in Wednesday's hearing. The attorney argued that Lively's subpoenas, which seek information about agreements between content creators and Friedman, are overly burdensome to the firm, risk breaching privilege, and should be quashed.
So here's where things get real. Baldoni's lawyers are doing exactly what sharp attorneys should. They're hitting back hard, not just sitting around letting Lively's side steamroll them. They're challenging every court demand, every single step her team takes, and the truth is they're doing it right. They're throwing up legal hurdles left and right, trying to shut down those demands, saying they're excessive, and pointing out how far Lively's pushing it. And the best part, their plan is actually working. They're handling this like experts, while Lively's group keeps tripping over their own blunders.
And so it's a game of they're all playing to be careful, because Friedman's team shouldn't have to give all this client information and people. Just because he gave statements to press doesn't mean that's a smear campaign.
This whole legal mess is way more than just courtroom drama. It's turned into a full-blown battle for public opinion, like some kind of live courtroom reality series, and the public's tuned in. But here's the thing, they're not siding with Blake Lively. Her team subpoenaed over 100 influencers, and now they're getting steamrolled by Baldoni's legal crew. It's not just embarrassing, it's terrible PR. The longer this fight goes, the worse Blake's image gets. She's trying to play hardball, but it's not landing, and everyone's seeing it. This courtroom isn't just a legal arena, it's a stage, and she's under the spotlight trying to act like she's in control, but the pressure's cracking her. Every big move she makes just backfires, and what's left is a messy trail of media backlash and strategic blunders. The audience is turning on her, and Baldoni's starting to look like the calm one in the storm.
Scumbags? It's far from a surprise, because she already won a protective order that made them have to tell her no, she would be notified in advance who would be present. So why is this a surprise?
Now let's talk about the lies, because while Blake Lively's story is falling apart like a cheap sweater, she's tangled in so many contradictions, it's honestly hard to keep up. Every time she speaks, she just digs a deeper hole. During her deposition, she kept tripping over her own words, saying one thing then flipping it the next second. Her go-to line turned into "I didn't say that," or "That's not what I meant," and let's be real, it's not a good look. It makes her come off as someone trying to cover her tracks, not someone with a solid truth to stand on, and the more she scrambles, the more it looks like she's trying to manipulate the entire situation.
But here's Blake Lively in court lying, and just like they did to me, saying I'm a criminal and broke the law by recording them, they're again lying to the judge.
And don't forget the legal fallout, because if Blake Lively gets caught lying under oath, it could be the end of the road for her. The damage wouldn't just be bad, it'd be permanent. She's already skating on thin ice, and every new lie just cracks it more. If she's exposed as dishonest, this case won't be the only thing falling apart. Her whole image, her career, everything she's built could collapse, and honestly maybe that's the consequence she's earned after how badly she's handled all of this.
They also said that he says she's a narcissist who cannot accept how she's behaved. I mean, let's be honest, both of these quotes are true.
And speaking of her image, it's pretty clear Blake Lively's reputation has hit rock bottom. What used to be a polished and well-liked persona is now totally wrecked. The public no longer sees her as the innocent party. Instead, she looks like someone who'll do whatever it takes to come out on top, even if it means betraying everyone around her. That kind of behavior isn't winning her any sympathy, and her legal team's aggressive tactics have only dragged her down further, rather than handling things with class. She's fumbled at every step, and people are watching every misstep. Now the real question is, can she bounce back? Maybe, but it's going to take a lot of effort, because the damage is already deep. The climb back to a positive public image won't be quick or easy. She'd need to pull off some major cleanup, but honestly, the way things are going, it might already be too late. Once the public flips on you, winning them back is an uphill battle, and right now it's obvious she's not winning that fight.